Hello students, welcome to the Samveda e-learning classes. Dear students, before we start the state government lesson, let us watch a video and then we can learn the entire state government, because this video is very important. This is called the foundation of the state government, students.
ಏಪ್ರಿಲ್ 1951ರ ಹೊತ್ತಿಗೆ ಕಟ್ಟಡ ವಿನ್ಯಾಸ ಮತ್ತು ನಕ್ಷೆಗಳು ಸಿದ್ಧವಾಗಿ ಜುಲೈ 1951ರಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ರಧಾನಮಂತ್ರಿಗಳಿಂದ ಕಟ್ಟಡಕ್ಕೆ ಭೂಮಿ ಪೂಜೆ ನೆರವೇರಿತು. ಕರ್ನಾಟಕದ ಮೊದಲ ಮುಖ್ಯಮಂತ್ರಿಯಾಗಿದ್ದ ಶ್ರೀ ಕೆ.ಸಿ. ರೆಡ್ಡಿಯವರು 1950ರಲ್ಲಿ ವಿಧಾನಸಭೆಯ ಅನುಕೂಲಕ್ಕಾಗಿ 1 ಮಹಡಿಯ ದೊಡ್ಡ ಸಭಾಂಗಣ ಕಟ್ಟಬೇಕೆಂದು ಸಮಾಲೋಚನೆ ನಡೆಸಿ 1950ರಲ್ಲಿ ನೆಹರೂರವರಿಂದ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಅಸ್ಥಿಭಾರವನ್ನು ಹಾಕಿಸಿದ್ದರು. ಆದರೆ 2 ವರ್ಷವಾದರೂ ಯೋಜನೆ ಕಾರ್ಯರೂಪಕ್ಕೆ ಬರಲಿಲ್ಲವಾಗಿ ತಮ್ಮ ನಂತರ ಅಧಿಕಾರಕ್ಕೆ ಬಂದ ಹನುಮಂತಯ್ಯನವರಿಗೆ ಆ ಕಟ್ಟಡ ನನ್ನ ಕಾಲದಲ್ಲಿ ಆಗಲಿಲ್ಲ, ನೀನಾದರೂ ಕಟ್ಟಿಸು ಎಂದಿದ್ದರು. 1952ರಲ್ಲಿ ಕೆಂಗಲರು ಮುಖ್ಯಮಂತ್ರಿಯಾದರು. ಅವರು ಒಂದು ಸಂಯುಕ್ತ ಕಟ್ಟಡವನ್ನು ಕಲ್ಪಿಸಿಕೊಂಡು ಹನುಮಂತಯ್ಯನವರು ಸೂಚಿಸಿದ ಮಾರ್ಪಾಟುಗಳೊಂದಿಗೆ ನಕ್ಷೆ ಸಿದ್ಧವಾಯಿತು. ಈ ನಿವೇಶನದ ವಶ ಮತ್ತು ಕಟ್ಟಡದ ನಿರ್ಮಾಣ ಸುಸೂತ್ರವಾಗಿ ಕೇವಲ 2.5 ವರ್ಷದಲ್ಲಿ ಭವನ ಸಿದ್ಧವಾಗಿದ್ದು ಒಂದು ಸಾಧನೆ. ಹೀಗೆ ಶುರುವಾದದ್ದೇ ವಿಧಾನಸೌಧ. ಒಟ್ಟು ಕಟ್ಟಡ ಅಳತೆ 720 ಅಡಿ ಉದ್ದ, 360 ಅಡಿ ಅಗಲ. ಒಳಗಡೆ ತೊಟ್ಟಿಯ ಅಳತೆ 260 ಅಡಿ ಉದ್ದ, 25 ಅಡಿ ಅಗಲ. ಎಲ್ಲ ಕಡೆ 3 ಮಹಡಿ ಇದ್ದು ದಕ್ಷಿಣ ದಿಕ್ಕಿನಲ್ಲಿ ನೆಲಮಾಳಿಗೆ ಸೇರಿ 4 ಮಹಡಿ. ಉತ್ತರ ದಿಕ್ಕಿಗೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ಅಂತಸ್ತಿನಲ್ಲೂ 80 ಅಡಿ ಉದ್ದ, 40 ಅಡಿ ಅಗಲದ ಹಾಲ್ಗಳು. ಪೂರ್ವ ದಿಕ್ಕಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಮುಖ್ಯ ಗುಮ್ಮಟದ ಒಟ್ಟು 6,000 ಟನ್ ಭಾರ ಹೊತ್ತಿರುವ 8 ಕಂಬಗಳ ಕೆಳಗೆ ಒಂದು ಹಾಲ್. ಇದರ ಉದ್ದ 100 ಅಡಿ, ಅಗಲ 100 ಅಡಿ. ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ವೆಟ್ ಹಾಲ್ ಪಶ್ಚಿಮದ ಕಡೆಯಿಂದ 2 ಪ್ರವೇಶ ದ್ವಾರಗಳನ್ನು ಹೊಂದಿದ್ದು ಅದರ ಅಳತೆ 195 ಅಡಿ ಉದ್ದ ಮತ್ತು 120 ಅಡಿ ಅಗಲ. ಅದರ ಮೇಲ್ಗಡೆ ವಿಧಾನಸಭಾ ಅಂದರೆ ಅಸೆಂಬ್ಲಿ ಹಾಲ್ ಉದ್ದ 132 ಅಡಿ, ಅಗಲ 125 ಅಡಿ. ವಿಧಾನ ಪರಿಷತ್ ಹಾಲನ್ನು ದಕ್ಷಿಣದಲ್ಲಿ ಕಟ್ಟಲಾಗಿದ್ದು ಉದ್ದ 100 ಅಡಿ, ಅಗಲ 78 ಅಡಿ. 3ನೇ ಮಹಡಿ ಪಶ್ಚಿಮ ದಿಕ್ಕಿಗೆ ಕ್ಯಾಬಿನೆಟ್ ಮೀಟಿಂಗ್ ಹಾಲ್ ಕಟ್ಟಲಾಗಿದ್ದು ಅದರ ಬಾಗಿಲು ಗಂಧದ ಮರದ ಕೆತ್ತನೆಯನ್ನು ಹೊಂದಿದೆ. ಪಶ್ಚಿಮ ದಿಕ್ಕಿನ ಫ್ಯಾಕೆಟ್ ರಾಜಸ್ಥಾನದ ಅರಮನೆಯ ವಿನ್ಯಾಸದಲ್ಲಿ ರಚಿತವಾಗಿದೆ. ಉತ್ತರ ದಿಕ್ಕಿನ ಫ್ಯಾಕೇಡು ಕೆ.ಆರ್. ಸಾಗರದ ಮುಖ್ಯ ಪ್ರವೇಶದ್ವಾರದ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ರಚಿತವಾಗಿದೆ. ಇಲ್ಲಿನ ಪ್ರವೇಶದ್ವಾರ ದ್ರಾವಿಡ ಶೈಲಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ರಚಿತವಾಗಿದೆ. ಮಧ್ಯದ ಗೋಪುರ ಪೂರ್ವದಲ್ಲಿದ್ದು ಸುರುಳಿಯಾಕಾರದ ಮೆಟ್ಟಲುಗಳನ್ನು ಹೊಂದಿದೆ. ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ಲಿಫ್ಟಿನ ತುತ್ತ ತುದಿಯ ರೂಮಿನಿಂದ ಪ್ರವೇಶವಿದೆ. ಕಟ್ಟಡದ ಹೊರಭಾಗದ ನಿರ್ಮಾಣಕ್ಕೆ ಬೆಂಗಳೂರು ಸುತ್ತಮುತ್ತಲಲ್ಲಿ ಸಿಗುವ ಗ್ರಾನೈಟ್ ಅನ್ನು ಒಳಭಾಗದ ಲೈನಿಂಗಿಗೆ ಮತ್ತು ಒಳಭಾಗದ ತೊಟ್ಟಿಯ ಭಾಗಕ್ಕೆ ಮಲ್ಲಸಂದ್ರದ ಬಳಿಯ ಕಲ್ಲು ಗಣಿಯ ಹಸಿರು ನೀಲಿ ಮಿಶ್ರಿತ ಗ್ರಾನೈಟ್ ಕಲ್ಲನ್ನು, ಹೊರಭಾಗದ ಲೈನಿಂಗಿಗೆ ಅರಹಳ್ಳಿ ಮತ್ತು ಹೇಸರಘಟ್ಟದ ಬಳಿಯ ಕಲ್ಲು ಗಣಿಯಿಂದ ತೆಗೆದ ಗ್ರಾನೈಟನ್ನು, ಅಲಂಕಾರಿಕವಾಗಿ ಕೆಂಪು ಪಾರ್ಫರಿ ಕಲ್ಲನ್ನು ಮಾಗಡಿ ಬಳಿಯ ಗಣಿಯಿಂದ ತಂದು ಉಪಯೋಗಿಸಲಾಗಿದೆ. 4 ದಿಕ್ಕಿನ ಹೊರಭಾಗದ ಕಲ್ಲಿನ ಸೂಕ್ಷ್ಮ ಮುಳ್ಳು ಚುಕ್ಕಿ ಹೊಡೆದಿರುವುದರಿಂದಾಗಿ ಅದು ಕಟ್ಟಡದ ಹೊರಭಾಗವನ್ನು ದಶಕಗಳಿಂದ ಸುಣ್ಣ ಬಣ್ಣದ ಅವಶ್ಯಕತೆ, ದುರಸ್ತಿಯ ಖರ್ಚಿಲ್ಲದಂತೆ ರಕ್ಷಿಸಿದೆ. ಗುತ್ತಿಗೆ ಕೊಡದೆ ಸರ್ಕಾರದ ಇಲಾಖೆಗಳೇ ಕಾರ್ಯನಿರ್ವಹಿಸಿದ್ದರಿಂದಾಗಿ ವಿಧಾನಸೌಧದ ನಿರ್ಮಾಣ ವೆಚ್ಚ ಕೇವಲ 175 ಲಕ್ಷ ರೂಪಾಯಿಗಳಿಗೆ ಸೀಮಿತವಾಯಿತು. ಒಟ್ಟಾರೆ 6 ಲಕ್ಷ ಚದುರ ಅಡಿ ಕ್ಷೇತ್ರವನ್ನು ಲೆಕ್ಕಕ್ಕೆ ತೆಗೆದುಕೊಂಡರೆ ಅದರ ದರ ಚದುರ ಅಡಿಗೆ ಕೇವಲ 30 ರೂಪಾಯಿ ಬೀಳುತ್ತದೆ. ನಿರ್ಮಾಣ ಸಮಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಕೆಂಗಲ್ ಹನುಮಂತಯ್ಯನವರು ಪ್ರತಿದಿನ ತಪ್ಪದೆ ಈ ನಿವೇಶನಕ್ಕೆ ಭೇಟಿ ನೀಡಿ ಗಾರೆ ಕೆಲಸ, ಕಲ್ಲು, ಮರ, ಕೆತ್ತನೆ ಎಲ್ಲದರಲ್ಲೂ ಲೋಪವಾಗಬಾರದು, ಇದು ಜನರ ದುಡ್ಡು ಎಂದು ಕೆಲಸಗಾರರಿಗೆ ಅವರು ಸದಾ ಎಚ್ಚರಿಸುತ್ತಿದ್ದರಂತೆ. ಹನುಮಂತಯ್ಯನವರು ಗೋತಿಕ್ ಶೈಲಿಗೆ ಬದಲಾಗಿ ಶುದ್ಧ ದಕ್ಷಿಣ ಭಾರತೀಯ ಶೈಲಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಅದು ನಿರ್ಮಾಣವಾಗಬೇಕೆಂದು ಇಚ್ಛಿಸಿದಂತೆ ಕಟ್ಟಡದ ಮುಂಭಾಗದಲ್ಲಿ ಸರ್ಕಾರದ ಕೆಲಸ ದೇವರ ಕೆಲಸ ಎಂದು ಕೆತ್ತಿಸಿದ ಹನುಮಂತಯ್ಯನವರು ಆ ವಾಕ್ಯದಂತೆಯೇ ಚಾಚೂ ತಪ್ಪದೆ ನಡೆದದ್ದಕ್ಕೆ ವಿಧಾನಸೌಧದ ಸೌಂದರ್ಯ ಮತ್ತು ಬಾಳಿಕೆಯೇ ಸಾಕ್ಷಿ. ಉತ್ತರದಲ್ಲಿ ಧರ್ಮೋ ರಕ್ಷತಿ ರಕ್ಷಿತಃ ಎಂಬ ಉಕ್ತಿ ಕೆತ್ತಿಸಲಾಗಿದೆ. ಅದು ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯದಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಜ ರೂಪದಲ್ಲಿ ಕಂಗೊಳಿಸುತ್ತಿದೆ. ಜವಾಹರ್ಲಾಲ್ ನೆಹರು ಅವರು ಈ ಭವ್ಯ ಕಟ್ಟಡ ನನ್ನನ್ನು ದಿಗ್ಭ್ರಮೆಗೊಳಿಸಿದೆ ಎಂದರು. ಸುಪ್ರಸಿದ್ಧ ವಿಜ್ಞಾನಿ ಸರ್ ಸಿ.ವಿ. ರಾಮನ್ ವಿಧಾನಸೌಧವನ್ನು ನೋಡಿ ಈ ವಿಧಾನಸೌಧದ ರಚನೆಯನ್ನು ಕಂಡು ಅಸೂಯೆ ಪಡುತ್ತಿರುವ ವಿರೋಧಿಗಳು ಮಡಿದ ಮೇಲೂ ಜನರು ಇದನ್ನು ಸ್ಮರಿಸುತ್ತಲೇ ಇರುತ್ತಾರೆ ಎಂದರು. ಇದು ಇಂದು ಸತ್ಯವಾಗಿದೆ. ಎಲ್ಲಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಹೆಚ್ಚಾಗಿ ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರಕವಿ ಕುವೆಂಪುರವರು ಕಾವ್ಯಗಳನ್ನು ನಾನು ಕಾಗದದ ಮೇಲೆ ಬರೆದಿದ್ದೇನೆ, ಆದರೆ ಹನುಮಂತಯ್ಯನವರು ಅದನ್ನು ಕಲ್ಲಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಕಡೆದಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಎಂದರು. ವಿಧಾನಸೌಧ ಕೇವಲ ಸೌಂದರ್ಯವಲ್ಲದೆ ಕರ್ನಾಟಕದ ಜನಶಕ್ತಿ ಮತ್ತು ಪ್ರಜಾಪ್ರಭುತ್ವದ ಉತ್ತಮ ವ್ಯವಸ್ಥೆ ಇರುವ ಆಡಳಿತ ಕೇಂದ್ರವಾಗಿಯೂ ಇರುವ ಒಂದು ಅಪರೂಪದ ಕಟ್ಟಡ. ಅದರ ಈ ಹಿರಿಮೆಗೆ ಸಾಟಿಯಿಲ್ಲ.
Dear students, today we are going to learn 9th standard, 3rd lesson, Political Science Division, State Government. In this lesson, we will be able to learn all these points, students. The nature of the state legislature, the legislative assembly, which is also known as Vidhana Sabha, and the legislative council, which is also known as Vidhana Parishad, and their membership and functions. The nature of the state executive, the governor, his qualifications and functions we will be studying in this lesson. And also we learn the appointment of the chief minister and his functions. My dear students, India is a union of states. It comprises 28 states, 8 union territories and 1 national capital territory. Dear students, in the previous lesson, we learned the union government. The union government has a bicameral legislature. More or less, the state governments follow the model of the central government. Thus, they have the legislature, executive, and the judiciary. And more than that, the state governments in the federal setup of India have been given the powers here. The state governments are empowered to make laws on the state list as well as concurrent list. And also, some of the states of India, they have the bicameral legislature, and some states, students, they have a unicameral legislature. My dear students, I have already discussed in the earlier class what is bicameral and what is unicameral. Bicameral meaning here 2 houses will be there. There are 6 states in India which have the bicameral legislature. Even Karnataka is one of the state. Followed by Karnataka, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Maharashtra, Andhra Pradesh, as well as Telangana. Telangana is the state which has adopted the bicameral legislature recently. Anyway, students, the state legislature, we are going to learn the state government, and one of the most important organ of the state government here, the state legislature. It comprises the governor and the two houses of the state. As I told you, students, there are two houses in the Karnataka state legislature. The upper house, which is also known as Vidhana Parishad, and the lower house, which is also called as Vidhana Sabha. And the legislative assembly has the representatives of the people, whereas the legislative council has the representatives from various fields, students. My dear students, let us learn about Vidhana Sabha first, and then we can learn the Vidhana Parishad. Dear students, Vidhana Sabha, composition of Vidhana Sabha. What is the strength of Vidhana Sabha? How the strength is determined here? Of course, the strength of this Vidhana Sabha, students, in all the states, it is based on the population of that state. According to the constitution, the maximum number of seats of Vidhana Sabha should not exceed more than 500, and it should not be below 60. But anyway, there are some state, students, where they have the special provision here. In such kind of the states, there are lesser than the 60 members in the states. For example, Mizoram and Goa, these states have the lesser strength, students. Anyway, out of all these members to the Vidhana Sabha, governor can nominate one member to Vidhana Sabha here, who belongs to Anglo-Indian community, students, in case governor feels that that community has not represented in the house. It is the power of the governor. Dear students, you can observe here Vidhana Sabha, the legislative assembly of Karnataka, as well as legislative council is also given here. Yes, the legislative assembly composition, we are learning about the strength of the legislative assembly, students. Karnataka Vidhana Sabha, it has the strength of 225. Out of 225 strength in Karnataka, 224 members are directly elected by the people, and one person is nominated by the governor to the Vidhana Sabha, who belongs to the Anglo-Indian community. Dear students, who can become the member of Vidhana Sabha? What are the qualifications to become the members of Vidhana Sabha here? There are some important qualifications, students. The qualifications are enlisted here. Look at the qualifications. Among all these qualifications, he or she should be a citizen of India. The one most important qualification here, that is age, students. A person who is contesting for the election of the Vidhana Sabha, he should be completed the 25 years of age. Apart from that, he should not be employed under the government. In case they are in the services, they had to resign to their positions before they file the nomination in the election. And also, he or she should not be punished by the court of law here. And also, he or she should not be an insolvent or an unsound mind person. More than that, he or she should be having certain qualifications which are prescribed by the parliament time to time. This is very important, students. If a person has all these kind of the qualifications, and he is eligible to contest in the election of the Vidhana Sabha. A member of the Vidhana Sabha, he is very popularly known as MLA. member of Legislative Assembly. Look at Legislative Assembly of Karnataka, students. The term of the Legislative Assembly, my dear students, the term, of course, the term is 5 years. But the state legislature, it can be dissolved before completion of its term in case if it does not have the majority and the confidence in the house. So it can be dissolved by the governor here on the advice of the President of India, students. And also, if the state cabinet decides and recommends the governor here to dissolve the state government will be dissolved by the governor on the advice of the president again. And during that particular time, the state will be under the president's rule, students. The state government can also be disqualified based on improper rule of the constitutional machinery. If a member of Vidhana Sabha, if he do not want to continue as a member of Legislative Assembly here, he can resign himself. And also, the Vidhana Sabha has two important posts inside Vidhana Sabha. That is the speaker and the deputy speaker of Vidhana Sabha, students. And all the Vidhana Sabha is presided by the speaker of the Vidhana Sabha. Speaker and the deputy speaker are elected among the elected members of the Vidhana Sabha. And all the proceedings of the house carried on under the chairmanship of speaker of Vidhana Sabha. Speaker plays a very important role, students, here. He has the functions of maintaining the peace and dignity and decorum of the house. And he is the one summoning and postponing the meetings of the sessions, safeguarding the rights of the members, as well as casting the important vote, casting of vote when there is a deadlock in the house. And these are all the powers and functions of the speaker of Vidhana Sabha. In the absence of the Vidhana Sabha speaker, deputy speaker will be chaired and the proceedings will be held under the leadership of deputy speaker of Vidhana Sabha. Apart from that, dear students, apart from that, the powers and functions of the state legislative assembly, students. The state legislative assembly has various powers and functions. The most important powers among here, the first one, legislative powers. What are the legislative powers of the state legislative assembly? The assembly has the power to frame the laws on the subjects mentioned in the state list as well as in the concurrent list. Apart from that, all the bills have to be passed by both the houses of the legislature. And finally, the bills have to be assented by the governor of state. The governor, if he does not satisfy, he may send certain bills to the president for his approval, followed by the legislative powers of the legislative assembly, financial powers of the state legislative assemblies. What are the financial powers and functions are there? Dear students, when it comes to the legislative assembly, the financial powers are enjoyed more. It is having more power than the legislative council when it comes to the financial powers. For example, financial bill, money bill has to be introduced in the legislative assembly first, and then the Vidhana Parishad has a little power with the money bill. Though the legislative council does not have the power over the money bill much, it does not have power to reject it. It can delay the bill. It can delay the bill for 14 days maximum. After 14 days, it is understood Vidhana Parishad has accepted the money bill, then money bill is sent to the governor's assent. So therefore, when it comes to the financial powers, Vidhana Sabha has more power than the Vidhana Parishad. If the Vidhana Parishad fails to send the bill within 14 days, what happens then? It is assumed as passed and forwarded to the governor of Karnataka for his approval. Dear students, after that, there are administrative powers of the Vidhana Sabha. What are the administrative powers? The state executive is responsible to the legislative assembly and can be in power as long as it enjoys the trust of the legislative assembly. Every individual minister is responsible for his own ministry, as well as a minister is also responsible for the entire government. So therefore, Council of Ministers is accountable. What are the different electoral powers of the Vidhana Sabha? The elected members of the Vidhana Sabha has the power to elect the President of India. Not only that, the members of Legislative Assembly elect the members of Rajya Sabha as well as State Legislative Council and the Speaker and Deputy Speaker of the assemblies. Apart from this, it also has other powers. It means the members of the Legislative Assembly discuss the bills passed by the Union Parliament when it is required, when there is a need, when there is a national interest in that. The reports of the State Public Service Commission and other reports are all discussed in the Legislative Assembly if it required. Dear students, these are all the other powers of the State Legislative Assembly. After the State Legislative Assembly, we do have the State Legislative Council, which is also known as Vidhana Parishad students. As I told you, it is known as the upper house of the state government. The strength of the Vidhana Parishad is again depending on the strength of the Vidhana Sabha. 1/3 of the strength of the Vidhana Sabha will be the Vidhana Parishad students. However, it should not be less than 40. This is the reason why some of the states do not have State Legislative Council students. And moreover, the number of the members of the Karnataka State Legislative, strength of the Karnataka State Legislative Council, 75. And these members, Vidhana Parishad members, are representing 5 areas. Which are the 5 areas? Some of the members of the Vidhana Parishad are elected by Legislative Assembly, some are elected by local bodies, and some are by graduate constituencies, and some are by teachers constituencies. The governor nominates some of the members to the Vidhana Parishad who are excelled in the special field, for example, in the science, art, architecture, and special contribution, social services. If the governor feels that he can nominate some of the members to the State Legislative Council. That is the power of the governor of the state students. And the State Legislative Council is a permanent house. It cannot be dissolved like the Legislative Assembly students, because the members of the Legislative Council, though they have the term here for 6 years, but the Legislative Council will not be dissolved here. The reason, 1/3 of the Legislative Council members will be retired for every 2 years once. At the same time, the elections are held there and the new members are entered into the house. So therefore, the house cannot be dissolved here. Dear students, what are the qualifications required to become the member of Vidhana Parishad, to become a member of MLC? Should be a citizen of India, should have completed the 30 years of age, should possess all qualifications required for an MLA. Apart from that, which I mentioned the qualifications to become MLA, all qualifications should be there. And the term, as I told here, member of Legislative Council will be having a term of 6 years. Apart from that, among the members of the Vidhana Parishad, there will be a speaker and deputy speaker. The chairman and the vice chairman will be elected among themselves. The speaker assumes the chairmanship during the proceedings of the house and ensures dignity and decorum of the house students. State Legislative Assembly, how it has powers, like that State Legislative Council also has the powers, students. What are the powers? All bills may be presented in both houses of the State Legislature, either in Legislative Assembly or Legislative Council. An ordinary bill can be introduced in either of these houses, students. Once the bill is passed by one house, the bill has to be sent to the another house. The Legislative Council has the power for a period of maximum 3 months. It can withhold a bill, and after 3 months it is supposed to send the bill to the same house. One more time the bill is sent by the Vidhana Sabha to the Vidhana Parishad. Second time Vidhana Parishad can withhold the bill maximum for 1 month. After that, it do not have any power, students. However, it is understood the council has approved the bill, and more than that, the bill has to be sent to the governor's assent. There is some important process of creation of an act. What is the process? Look at here. A bill, first it is introduced. When a bill is introduced in the house, either in a Vidhana Parishad or in a Vidhana Sabha, the bill first reading will be there. A person who is introducing a bill there, he will be reading out about the bill loudly. After that, there will be a second reading. A discussion will take place on a bill there. After that, the bill will be sent to the committees. Discussions will be held there, debates will be held there, and entire discussion takes place on the bill. The house can either approve or reject bill after this kind of the discussion. During the third reading of the house, it can discuss the bill orally. After the approval, the bill will be sent to the another house. Another house also has to follow with the same kind of the procedures, and finally the bill will be sent to the governor's assent. Once the governor signs the bill becomes an act there. The governor may also forward it to the president for his approval in case he feels. Apart from that, the administrative powers of the Legislative Council, students. The Legislative Council do not have much control over the administration. It can obtain the information and it can post some questions, that's all, during the sessions. If the questions are not answered by the minister, the house can insist on a minister for his resignation, but cannot move a no confidence motion, students. What are the financial powers of the Legislative Council? When it comes to the financial powers, Legislative Council has very less powers. When a money bill is sent to the Vidhana Parishad, it has a 14 days time. Within 14 days, it has to decide about money bill and return it to the same house. It can make some recommendations, but it does not have the power to deny a money bill. So therefore, it is understood after 14 days, it is approved and it is sent to the governor's assent. Discretionary powers of the Legislative Council. What are the special powers given to the Legislative Council? The Legislative Council carries on debates about the government's programs and policies, decisions and acts. As this is the House of Elders, the debates are carried on in a very serious manner. The House of Intelligence, the House of Intellectuals it is. Vidhana Parishad is also known as the House of Intellectuals. Genius people will be there so that the discussion takes place in a very serious manner. And they try to find out all the solutions in this house. My dear students, in this part, we were able to understand the state legislature and the bicameral system of the state legislature. We learned the state legislative assembly and the state legislative council here. Dear students, I am Mr. Hemant V. Dalavai, who has been working as a social science resource person for various institutions. And also, I work as an assistant master for the New Cambridge Group of Institutions, Vijayanagara, Bengaluru. Thank you, students.